Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing? It is the last day of February today, and for today's vlog, we want to go back to Vegas. Not in person, unfortunately, just in spirit. There is one video here's how the whole story started. When we were in Vegas, they mentioned us during the keynote speech that Jason Group delivered on the first day of WPPI trade show. You can see that operation going down in one of our vlogs. When we were leaving that keynote speech, right after Jason Group called us to the front,
Lonnie and David, come on up here. You hear?
And we were leaving, going back to our seats, we were approached by Ashley. Ashley simply stopped us, introduced herself, and basically told us quickly that she basically runs an organization called Love Not Lost, and her mission is to photograph terminally ill people. After a very quick conversation, we invited Ashley for an interview. While in Vegas, we were interviewing interesting people and inviting Ashley to talk to us. We had no idea how much of a powerful and touching story we were about to uncover. I was going to include that interview with Ashley in one of our Vegas vlogs, but then ultimately we thought it deserves a separate video. Here's Ashley presenting her story in her own words. How did everything start? How did you come up with the idea?
So, we'll just jump in and get really personal. My husband and I had a daughter, and at 2 months old, she was diagnosed with a terminal condition. So, at 2 months old, we contacted Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, but they only specialize in babies that don't make it home from the hospital, and we had already made it home. And so we just weren't their niche client. But as a mom of a 2-month-old who was dying, like, I absolutely wanted photos of us as a family. And so for me, that was really, really heartbreaking to hear that they, that they didn't photograph infants. Yeah, that I didn't fit, that it was like, we're rejected, it was like, that sucks, like, we still need photos. Right before her first surgery, she had to have a feeding tube. So she had spinal muscular atrophy, and basically it's like ALS, but in babies. So she started to lose muscle function, and the first thing that went was her ability to swallow. So she started choking while feeding. And so we went ahead and put in a feeding tube just so that she wouldn't choke to death,
So that's what you just noticed that happening while you were feeding her, and you took her to the doctor to find out why?
I noticed, so there was something else that happened. So when she was a month old, her right arm came up like a chicken wing. And I was like, don't freak out, you're a first time mom, like, you're making too much, don't freak out. And I pulled it down gently, and it just slowly came back up, and I could tell she had no control over it. So I was like, oh, shit, like, this sucks, At her 1 month checkup, I brought that up to the pediatrician, and I was like, hey, I've just noticed her arm kind of comes up, it doesn't, she can't control it. So he was like, well, we'll send you to a specialist, and maybe it was a brachial plexus injury. Like, did she struggle coming out of the birth canal? And I was like, no. I was like, I had a natural delivery. I felt everything. Like, once her head was out, she slipped right out. There wasn't any injury there. And he was like, well, I'll send you there. I don't know really what else it could be. And at that point, she still had good muscle tone everywhere else. So it was just the arm. But while we were waiting for that brachial plexus specialist appointment, her other arm became limp, and it rotated inward. And it looked like broken at the shoulder, like it just, and it was floppy. And I was like, oh God, like, and she's not crying, So I was like, it doesn't hurt her, but like, what the hell is happening? I'm sorry, I don't know, like language-wise. But I was like, what the hell is happening? Because now her other arm's affected, but it's like a new thing, it wasn't from birth. So the brachial plexus specialist started asking me, like, when we got there, I was like, yeah, the other arm's affected now, I don't know what's going on. And he was like, a brachial plexus injury is always from birth, and it's never happened in both arms. So he's like, I can tell you right now, it's not that. And he started asking me all these questions that were like, kind of getting at our genetic history,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't giving, like no one in our family, like I'm an only child. My husband has one brother and he's younger and doesn't have kids yet. So like
Mhm.
there's not a lot of genealogy,
Evidence
to go on. And he was trying to get out stuff like that. And I remember he was like, well, I'm going to send you to a neurologist, a pediatric neurologist, and I'm going to make some phone calls to get you in within the next 2 weeks. And I was like, you don't even know me. Like, why are you making phone calls for us? And like, that was, at first I was like, wow, that's really nice of you. And then I was like, oh shit, like, that
He's
means it's really
rushing,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what's going on? Like, and he was like, it's not really my place to diagnose you at this point. And like, I'll never forget walking out of that doctor's appointment, and it was like a freak snow day in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and the power had gone out in the doctor's office, and there were just like the emergency lights down the hallway, so it was like really dark and kind of moody as we were walking down the hallway, and hardly anyone was there, but I was like, I'm not missing this appointment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was walking down the hallway, I like turned over my shoulder and just saw the doctor standing there, and he was in like one of the emergency spotlights. You know, it was almost like a scene from the movies, and just this overwhelming sense of pity just like oozing out of him. And I was like, what are you not telling me?
Yeah.
You know, like it was so frustrating as like a first time mom, like
Mhm.
what's going on? And at that point, we had our 2-month checkup with the pediatrician, like a couple days before the neurologist appointment. And as soon as I left the brachial plexus specialist, I got a phone call 30 minutes later from our pediatrician. And I was like, dude, what is he not telling me?
Mm-hmm.
And our pediatrician was a really sweet, like very friendly, personable guy. So grateful for him. And he was like, it's not good. Like, I don't want to tell you over the phone, but it's
Mhm.
not good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, you can't just say that.
Yeah, and
you know,
not
like,
say-
that's terrible.
Yeah.
And
Then you can speculate a
Right.
million.
But what was crazy was like, even in my head, like worst case scenario was like a lifetime of physical therapy, severe handicap, surgeries, like special needs, like, you know, full-time care.
Mhm.
I had not thought about death. Like
Mhm.
in my head, babies didn't die
Mm-hmm.
because it's so wrong. And so we went to the 2-month checkup, and at that point she had lost a lot more muscle tone, and he was like, I'm pretty sure she has SMA. And then just like a couple days later, the neurologist confirmed it. So I spent like a week in like severe shock and depression, and I couldn't eat. I was so sick. And then I was like, okay, like this is our reality now. Like we don't have a choice. Like she has this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to pick ourselves up like we're her parents, and we're gonna do what we can to love her and give her the best life while we have her with us and enjoy it. So like I had to like snap myself out of depression and just focus on the positives that we had and be grateful for like the positives. And then at 6 months to 7 months old, a friend of ours gifted us a portrait session with a professional photographer who's here, Tessa. Tessa was like, I've never found a way to give back to an SMA family, so I would love to do this for free. And she printed out prints for us and gave us a little book. And then at 10 months old, we went on hospice for the first time. Yeah, I know. And what really sucked was that, like, with SMA, because it's so rare, like it's 1 in 6,000 babies are born with it. But it's of the rare diseases, it's more common. There are some doctors and nurses who maybe have seen it, but they're not specialists in it. And so there are so many doctors who are like, we really don't know what to do for you. Like, we're really sorry, but like, you're gonna have to kind of help out with this. Other moms were like amazing in helping. So there was like one SMA mom who like really took me under her wing and became a dear friend of mine. And she had just lost her son. I had heard of an SMA researcher out west who had dedicated her career to SMA. At that point, my daughter was on a BiPAP machine. And she was like, you have so much room to grow with the power of that machine to support her. Like, the reason why you're on hospice is your pulmonologist, your lung doctor, doesn't know what the heck they're doing. And so she's just under supported right now. All you need to do is bump up her settings and she'll be fine. Yeah. And all the other doctors that we had been working with were like, this is it, you have to say goodbye. And then this researcher, so our daughter made it to 21 months.
At 10 months old, she was at hospice. And
yeah. And so she like doubled our daughter's life. You know, like, that's amazing.
It's amazing, and it's also like,
I know. It was awful. Needless to say, I had a word with the pulmonologist's office, and we did no longer use her. Tessa came back when our daughter was 16 months and did another shoot with us. And then she passed away at 21 months old. And through that time, like, I understood the value of photos, and I like love seeing pictures of the three of us and me and her, and as a photographer I could appreciate like the quality of the photos too. But it wasn't until she was gone that I realized like how critical photos are in the grief process. And like after someone's gone, like how crucial those are in bringing comfort and like keeping them close. And so as I kind of went through that grief journey myself, I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone needs photos. Like this is not a non-negotiable, like, or this is a non-negotiable, like everyone deserves to be remembered, and they should have really beautiful photos to pass along to loved ones. And so anytime I heard of anyone facing a terminal diagnosis, I would offer a free portrait session. Like with each session, like, yes, it's absolutely really hard, but the joy and the hope and the strength that it brings out in people is like inspiring, and it keeps me going over and over and over again. Yeah, my husband was like, I love that you're giving and that you want to keep donating sessions and giving away artwork and prints and stuff, but like we have to pay the bills. So you know, I don't know what to tell you. And he was really sweet about it. But I was just like, you know what, I will figure something out because I really believe that this matters. And so that's what kind of started the journey of forming Love Not Lost, to be an official 501c3 nonprofit. So I could get donations and accept donations and give people a tax write-off to allow us to photograph the families and give away artwork and do all of that at no cost to the family. Because I'm sure, as you know, like medical bills and expenses that aren't covered by insurance are outrageous.
You guys have to admit, that was pretty strong. Ashley is on an amazing mission, and if you want to have a chance to support her organization, here's the link. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you like the content we are providing, please subscribe to our channel. And if you don't, you can subscribe anyway. It's free.
I think for me, it's just really important to have like beautiful images to remember a loved one by.